I'm all like sweaty and icky right now because it's actually like 11 p.m. and I need to be up at 8:30 tomorrow, so I should probably wrap this up pretty quickly. I guess for a while, I'm gonna be showing you guys what I read while I'm studying for my learners. I'm 19 and I still don't have my learners, which is kind of crazy actually, but I'm very scared of driving. It's a giant metal bullet. Is no one afraid of crashing? I'm just gonna show you guys how much I read while I'm studying for my learners because I really need to film a video for next week and I didn't know what because I was gonna film a 24-hour challenge. Don't have time for that right now, so this is what you're getting. I'm currently not reading any book right now because I'm busy studying, so when I do have time to read, I have a couple of options around 6, I think. Not really sure what I'm in the mood for. I'm just gonna show you guys the covers quickly. I guess I'll just gradually read when I have the time. I have no clue, okay? I'm giving myself around a little over a week to study for my learner's test. I don't know if it's going well. I've been told there's like different ways to study for this thing. You guys will just see me studying when I start a book. I'll tell you when I start a book. So I kind of wanted to start this book right here, but I literally have had no time to read whatsoever because I've been studying. Yeah, that was basically all. That's pretty much all I have for you guys. So change of plans. I ended up picking a book from the library, so I'm not actually reading any of the books on my physical TBR. It's My Lady Jane by, I think it's like multiple authors, but there's a show that recently came out that was inspired by the book. My Lady Jane is inspired by like the actual history, but it's not accurate to the actual history. And I didn't know that until I was watching a clip from the show, right? And the main love interest, he suddenly turned into a horse. I'm just like, there's fantasy elements in this show? I thought it was based off the history. So then I found out there was a book, right? And so now I'm reading the book because I got interested in the animal transformation aspect. I don't know, when I was talking to my mom about the show, she's like, I don't want to watch it. I know it's gonna be sad. She's gonna die. And I'm just like, I don't think so because this seems very different. I was just shocked to find out that he could turn into a horse. I'm just like, what is happening here? Because it was the last thing I expected, right? Literally no one's talking about this. No one cared to mention that there were fantasy elements in this show. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. The writing is very humorous, a lot more humorous than you might think, because when it comes to the actual history of like Jane, her head does actually get cut off, but I don't think in the show her head gets cut off. I'm not sure because I haven't watched it and I haven't finished the book. Because in the prologue it was like, we've changed major details of the story, some names we've even changed, details we've switched around, so I'm hoping no one die. This thing's about to die, so I'm gonna be quick. So I'm like 66% into My Lady Jane. I'm enjoying it, but I kind of hope to see more of her and like Guilford in here, or Gifford, whatever the hell you want to call him in the book. In the show he's called Guilford. I'm just gonna call him Guilford. I wanted to see more of them together in like their human form, but I think for like 75% of this book, Guilford's been a horse. The guy's a horse, and they do hang out when he's in horse form, but they're not actually hanging out, if you know what I mean. Sure, it's sweet that she reads books to him in his horse form and that she takes care of him when he's a horse, but he's a horse. I'm just saying. I should also mention the fact that he's not the only one who can turn into an animal. There are these people called Ethians. When you're an Ethian, you can only transform into one animal, so like Guilford can turn into a horse, and let's say another person could turn into a fox. That's the only animal they can turn into. Sorry, we got interrupted earlier, which is why I'm in a different position. But I also wanted to explain there are these people called the Verities who are against the Ethians because they believe the Ethians to be dangerous because sometimes they can turn into dangerous animals. Yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to tell you guys. I finished My Lady Jane. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. I want to say for about 75% of this book, Guilford was a horse, so I don't really know how Jane fell in love with him considering he was a horse for a majority of this book. Also, there were just so many like unnecessary plot twists. I'm not really sure if I'm using that word right anymore. I want to say almost all of the characters in this book turned out to be Ethians. I don't know, it was just some unnecessary detail like, oh, your mother was this, so inevitably you're gonna be an Ethian too. And I'm just like, does everyone in this book need to shift into animals? Like in the beginning of the book, literally the authors were like, oh yeah, we're gonna add a fantasy element where everyone can turn into animals. I'm just like, you're really using this, aren't you? Like really using it, because literally everyone turned out to be an Ethian in this book. Minor spoilers, not really. I'm pretty sure you could predict it at this point considering I just told you everyone was an Ethian. Obviously Guilford was a horse. I mentioned that so many times. King Edward turned out to be like a kestrel or something, which is a type of bird, falcon, whatever. And then Jane turned out to be a ferret. Why? I'm just like, did every single character in this book need to be able to shift into animals? Like, really wish they figured something else out because the animal turning thing was getting kind of boring at some point. For how dire like the situation was. Like, Edward got dethroned by his own sister. His own sister tried to murder him, for crying out loud. They just played it off like it was nothing. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna go get back my throne. Hardly any action scenes. I'm just like, so we have people turning into animals and we have people poisoning each other, but it just seems like this isn't an extreme situation whatsoever. I'm obviously gonna watch the show show and hope for 50% of it Guilford is at least human. I don't know, the show looks really different from what I've seen, which I think I'm okay with. Like, I know some people have been complaining that the show is very different from the book, but yeah, it wasn't a bad book. I just didn't think it made sense how Jane fell in love so quickly, considering that Guilford was a horse. I know we keep mentioning that he's a horse, but he was literally a horse, for crying out loud. Like, how does a human being fall in love with a horse? A man who was a horse for 75% of the book. How does that happen? Well, at least girl can say she was a horse girl. And then they tried to give it like a romantic air or something, even when the guy was still a horse. He's like, oh, he would nudge her shoulder when he was a horse. Oh, she would read to him by a tree while he was in horse form. I know I'm mentioning it too much, but I'm not letting it go. I'm seriously not letting it go. I'm just like, okay, so we're just having a love story between a horse and a human at this point. And then when Jane started turning into a ferret, it was just like whenever the sun came up, Guilford would turn into a horse. And then whenever night fell, Jane would turn into a ferret. We got like no human time here. When it came to like the last 50% of the book, I'm just like, so is one of them going to be an animal the whole time and only one of them is going to be human, and it's just going to keep switching back and forth until they can break their curses or whatever? Like, I don't know what's going on with this book, okay? I did think it was enjoyable in some parts, but I don't know why, but I just didn't like Edward's POV. I found him to be very boring. He was also very sexist in the beginning of the book, which they did warn us about. I'm guessing most men back then were very sexist. I'm not really that surprised, but I just didn't like his POV for some reason, because 1, he was sexist, 2, he was kind of boring, and 3, he had a romance, and I didn't really like his romance story either. So there was really nothing likable about him in my opinion, but that might just be me. I might have just been bored at some point, and I'm kind of glad I'm going to be able to move on to another book. But anyways, studying's going well. I don't know, I'm too scared to take my test. I'm too scared of failure, I think, so might be avoiding that for a while, but I do plan on getting a Kindle when I pass my test. I'm like determined to pass it on like the first try, because my prize for myself is a Kindle, okay? If I pass this test, I'm getting myself a Kindle. But yeah, that's pretty much all. So it's actually been a while. I haven't taken my learner's test yet. I kind of started 2 books. I'm in sort of a reading slump right now. Me and Ozzy from Ozzy's Orbit plan to do a buddy read, and so we decided to start August 11th, and we decided to both reread Cinder by Marissa Meyer because it's been a while since we both read this book. I'm actually highlighting the book. This is one of my first times highlighting one of my own books. I've highlighted other books before, but it was mostly for like friends' birthdays and stuff, so this is the first time I'm highlighting my own book. In Cinder, I mostly just highlighted the interactions between like Cinder and Kai in the first chapter. I'm also reading Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. I just realized I closed my book without putting my bookmark in. That's my fault. I'll go find that page after. This is definitely a lot faster paced than the first book. The beginning isn't as slow as the first book, because in the first book the world building was definitely slow, and now it's definitely very interesting, like a lot more interesting than the beginning of the first book. I'm also highlighting this one quite a bit. They introduced Liam's brother in this book, and for a second I thought he was Liam. I don't know, it was just such a shock because apparently he looks so much like Liam that even Ruby mistook him for Liam. It was kind of just a jump scare, and I highlighted like the whole scene because I'm just like, oh my god, this isn't Liam. That's kind of scary. Highlighting is a new thing for me right now, but because of Cinder, I kind of started enjoying it even though I'm only like 5 chapters in. There's a lot I forgot about Cinder actually. For like 2 seconds, I forgot Cinder was a cyborg. I mean, I didn't fully forget. I'm just like, oh yeah, right, that is a thing. But yeah, I'm just gonna continue reading Never Fade because I already reached my 5 chapters in this book for today. I know this angle is really weird, but you're gonna have to live with it. I'm on page 151 of Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. Right now, Ruby is gonna go look for Liam. And then in Cinder, I'm on page 232, chapter 25. I am like 2 chapters ahead of schedule. No one tell Ozzy, okay? I'm accidentally 2 chapters ahead because we were out today and I had nothing else to do, and the only book I had was this one. Yeah, I'm kind of a terrible buddy reader. I've been annotating both books, or not annotating, highlighting. There was this one chapter I highlighted almost every single page. I'm not even kidding. One, here's another one, like it just keeps going. Yeah, I don't know, I'm enjoying myself though. This is the first time I'm rereading a book in a really long time. It definitely gets you out of a reading slump. So apparently we all caught something yesterday, because yesterday my throat was sore and now I'm like completely sick. I don't think I'm gonna manage to even write my learner's test this week because my brain is literally not functioning right now. Now that I'm sick, am I making the responsible choice of continuously studying my learners? No, I'm making the irresponsible choice of reading my books. So Cinder, I'm actually almost finished. We're getting to the part where Cinder runs the ball to warn Kai of the danger and blah blah blah. Actually, I forgot a lot of things that happened in this book, so like when plot twists were dropped on me, I was like, wow, I forgot about this. Rereads are definitely interesting because I have a terrible memory, so like I probably don't remember most things in this book, and I didn't. And now that I'm rereading this, memories are starting to resurface and I'm just like, oh my god, this is where it happens and this is where it's noticed and this is where it's like mentioned and like other characters are mentioned, and it's kind of fun, honestly. Then we have Never Fade. I'm also trying to borrow it from the library because I just don't feel like reading it on paperback, you know, so I'm just trying to wait for the library one to come in. I'm also planning to read Unsteady by Peyton Corin, I believe her name is. Apparently it's one of the few hockey romances people actually like, and I've never read a hockey romance before. Like, I know there's like Icebreaker and Wildfire not really being a hockey romance, it's more like a camp one, but I know there are those ones and then other popular hockey romances, but this will be my first time reading one. I also just wanted to read Unsteady because apparently there's like a really good mental health aspect in it, so I might read that after I'm done Cinder. And Never Fade, I might wait for a while to get my copy from the library. I was planning on showing you guys when I got my learner's license if I passed the first time, but I don't think I'm going to be able to take it this week because I kind of feel terrible right now. I'm at least going to try to get it before the summer ends. I have my retainers in, so that's why my voice will probably sound deeper. I know as a sick person, I should probably not be up at 2 a.m. in the morning. I finished Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Honestly, it was just as good as I remember it to be. I rated it a 5 out of 5, obviously, because it's one of my favorite books in the world. Also, this series is so great. But anyways, I think I should probably go to sleep because this is probably not good for me. Okay, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna start Unsteady by Paige and Corin because this video is technically seeing how many books I can read while I'm studying for my learners. I was planning to take my learners this week, but obviously I'm very sick, so I don't think I could go do that. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to take my learners for a while, so I think I'm just gonna end the video off here if I'm being honest. Hopefully I can pass my learners when this whatever I have goes away. I'm gonna end the video off here. I hope you guys enjoyed and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.